Scenes of desperation in the occupied West Bank. At the Nur Shams Refugee Camp in Tulkarm, families pack whatever they can carry.
We
were taken by surprise as the Israeli forces stormed the area and fired tear gas on the residents of the refugee camp. We, the Red Crescent, rushed to help the households ordered to evacuate before the demolition of their homes.
The forced evacuation orders from the Israeli military came ahead of its planned demolitions in the area, which means these residents don't have much time.
I was not able to carry any of our possessions, only my medication and some clothes. It's a really dire situation.
The expansion of Israel's military raids across the occupied West Bank means that in the past month alone, around 40,000 Palestinians have been forcibly expelled from their homes.
This is indescribable. It's beyond reason. Total destruction. They left nothing standing, even beds, chairs and fridges. It is as if the area was hit by a massive earthquake.
Evidence of Israel's military escalation is all around. In Nablus, raids continue. In the Jenin refugee camp, tanks can now be seen. It's the first time Israel has deployed them to the occupied West Bank since 2002. In Kabatia, shock at the scale of the destruction.
Not only have they bulldozed the roads, but they also destroyed the critical facilities on purpose. The town's main roads were intentionally destroyed. Even the side access roads were not spared. It is total destruction.
Israel maintains these raids are necessary in order to root out what it calls militants. But many Palestinians see it as part of a broader effort to expand and cement Israeli control over the occupied West Bank. Laura Khan, Al Jazeera.
The head of the UN Refugee Agency for Palestinians, UNRWA, is warning that the occupied West Bank is becoming a battlefield. Philippe Lazzarini has posted on X that more than 50 people, including children, have been reported killed since the Israeli forces' operation started 5 weeks ago. Destruction of public infrastructure, bulldozing roads and access restrictions are commonplace. People's lives have been turned upside down, bringing back traumas and loss. Around 40,000 people have been forced to flee their homes, especially in refugee camps in the north. Fear, uncertainty and grief once again prevail. Well, for more on this, we're joined now by Abbas Milham, who is Executive Director at the Palestinian Farmers Union. He joins us from Ramallah. Thank you very much for being with us. As I said there, Lazzarini said the West Bank is becoming a battlefield. How would you describe what is happening there?
What's happening in the West Bank, actually, we call it like an ethnic cleansing war, similar to what happened in Gaza. And the same scenes we have witnessed when this genocidal war in Gaza erupted on October 7, 2023, until the ceasefire plan was reached, we have seeing and now witnessing and experiencing the same scenes of massive demolishing and massive expulsion of large number of Palestinians from their houses and from their homes, from their towns, from their refugee camps. It is the largest displacement that ever happened since 1967 in West Bank, when more than 40,000 of Palestinian refugee families and persons have been expelled and forced to leave and evacuate the refugee camps in Jenin, Nur Shams and Tulkarm refugee camps. Adding to this, the massive attacks against Palestinian towns and villages like what happened in Kabatia, in Tammon and Tubas area, and in other villages and towns. Adding to this, when the Israeli army established more than 900 roadblocks, checkpoints and iron gates that cut off Palestinians from, from connectivity from going from one area to another and cutting off farmers from reaching out their farmland areas. Yes, it is an entire massive ethnic cleansing war against Palestinians in West Bank.
Yeah, before we get on to the farmers and the land that they're being pushed off, can you just give us an idea of where the 40,000 displaced people are going and what sort of help, if any, are they getting at this point in time?
Yes, and those who were displaced from refugee camps, they were, spread over around the cities and the towns. They were welcomed by Palestinian families or in shelters, whether in mosques or in schools, in many villages around, whether Jenin city or in Tulkarem area. In Jenin, there are more than 20 villages that is hosting displaced families who fled this aggression from the Israeli army in their refugee camp, in Jenin refugee camp. Same as in Tulkarem, from the two refugee camps there, Nur Shams camp and Tulkarem camp. Many of them are staying in some neighborhoods within the city, and the larger number of displaced people from those two refugee camps are hosted by families in different villages, like in the Nabi, like in Kufr al-Labat, and staying in mosques, in public areas, and in schools as well.
Okay, like we said, it's not just the refugee camps. Farmers are being pushed off their land as well. Can you just give us an idea of how widespread that is and what the effect that is having?
Yes, as I said, it's a massive aggression war, ethnic cleansing war against entire Palestinian communities, not only refugee camps, but it is targeting first also farmers by denying their access to their farmland areas, kicking out Palestinian farmers. Until now, more than 2,500 farming communities have been displaced and forced to leave, and they were expelled due to the increased settler violence and settler attacks against Palestinian farmers, which increased by 3 times from the beginning of this year, 2025, which was 5 times since the eruption, since the genocidal war in Gaza, which was more than the 5 to 6 times compared to the attacks before October 7 war in Gaza. This gives this becoming like an official policy of the Israeli government, targeting Palestinian farmers in order to prevent them from reaching out their farmland lands. They want the land empty from farmers, and kicking out farmers would leave the farmland area as easy hunt for annexation and for expansion. All settlers' attacks and the crimes they conduct against Palestinian farmers is without any trial, without any subject to law. All these attacks are happening under the full coverage and full support of the Israeli army. The Israeli settler hands are freed to conduct and to commit more and more crimes against Palestinians. There are many Palestinian farmers who have been shot and were subject to physical harassment by Israeli settlers who are attacking farmers and their families and their children, denying them from going to their farmland, destroying their agricultural projects, stealing their animals. And all of this are aiming at evacuating and emptying the land areas from any presence of Palestinian farmers.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there, but we really do appreciate your time and your insight. Abbas Malhem, Executive Director at the Palestinian Farmers Union. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.